Oh snap. What's going on, YouTube? How you doing? Your pal Drewski here. Coming at you with another live stream. Late night. It's been a long day, very snowy up here in Canada, a little bit Canadaville. I will have to say it has been interesting. That is for sure. So let's see if we have anyone to talk to today. We shall find out. A little unprepared on the good old late night here. I was doing some researching into late and some classic OBS issues. You gotta love that, right? Let's send a Facebook blast. Huh, I can't even spell. There we go.
Close your eyes and imagine a place
Posted.
where all the stress melts away.
Posted.
We're here to help you chill.
Alright, that's good. So yeah, welcome to the stream. Got a great interesting topic for you tonight. I am your pal Drewski. I am your host this evening, as I am every evening I can get on here. Usually try and air at 1 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's usually the go-to. Today's topic is, are psychic powers real? What do you think? This is a great question because it's something that I've honestly thought about for a while and a long time, and I just can't dismiss it. I have some evidence here. Well, call it what you will, evidence. I have some case files here, I guess you could say, that that may or may not sway you into one direction or another. It might scare you off altogether, or might make you actually a believer. Who knows? But what I personally think, my personal opinion, I guess I would have to say, is that I think what we can do with our brains is just a small amount of what our potential is. I don't think it's any sort of magical or mystic in any sort of way. It's just, and other than the fact of that we are ignorant into the actual sciences, into higher energies, but I don't think it's something that is it cannot be explained by science. I just don't think that our scientific ability is at a level where we can get to that explanation like properly. We don't even have the basic elements of the universe figured out yet, let alone our own higher thinking. And although we do know a lot about the human brain and about the mind itself through psychology, a lot of it is still yet to be discovered and known. And with the cases that we have here today, they will show you that there are people out there who have had different abilities to do amazing things, and we'll kind of go over them in a sec. But let's see if we can wait, of course, until we have somebody to actually present the evidence to. That's always good. Nothing worse than just talking to yourself and nobody else around. So yeah, so we'll start up the show and show up some evidence as soon as we get some peeps in the house. If we get some peeps in the house. If we don't get some peeps in the house, well, then I'll just go sit here and chat to myself, and we'll save the show for another day, right? But I'm sure we'll find some people at some point. There's got to be one bored soul out there. At least one bored soul. Somebody who has nothing better to do than watch a tired working man talk about psychic abilities and the things that we could potentially do. I won't say I have an ability, but I do have a technique. That's something that everyone can use. I might share that with everybody at the end of the show. It's regarding to reading auras. It's actually not really hard to do at all. I have a way that anyone can teach themselves how to do it very easily. And all it takes is really just practice and want, basically. But to actually see the aura, that's very simple. Anyone can learn that within 20 minutes or so, not even 10-20 minutes. Doesn't even take that long. Yeah. Oh, snap, crack, pop. That was my heater.
No
She's
fuss.
cooling down.
No
I don't like to run her on the stream
Just
because then
chill.
you get that good old sound interference, which is horrible. As it is, I got this nice, beautiful Blue Yeti microphone, so you can hear me, not so you can hear my heater pounding off. Still no people. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. What can you do? What can you do? So I'm sure it's not really something that most people would even consider talking or thinking of watching a show live about. Usually they want to see all these pre-packaged goods, all these great things that they can watch on their related shows. No one wants to talk about it though. Have a discussion with other people. It's one thing we got to learn to do as a human race, peoples, is we need to learn how to talk to each other. BT dubs, I am a dirty smoker. I do not advocate smoking, but unfortunately I'm an addict, and well, as addicts do. Oh, welcome to the stream. Just talking about how that I am an addict and I'm going to have a smoke, but I don't advocate smoking. Wish I never started. One of the hardest things to quit. There's obviously a lot harder things out there to quit, but smoking is definitely on the top of the list. But yeah, so if you're just tuning in, basically this live stream today, we're going to be talking about are psychic powers real? I have a couple of cases that I want to present to everybody and show as evidence as to potential people who in history have demonstrated psychic powers to an extent and under scientific conditions, so that it's basically like it was reproducible and controlled, and they were without a doubt proven to have something that cannot be explained by at that time and probably still current to this time's scientific ability. And that in itself is just an amazing fact. The fact that there are at least, and trust me, I know there's a lot of charlatans out there. There's 1,000,001 people who prey on people with using simple techniques of body language reading and like guided conversations and kind of using just straight up intuition and logic to swindle people out of money, and that's horrible. You know, it's an awful thing that happens. But the problem is that because there are so many charlatans, the actual true potential people in the world that may or may not have abilities to some greater or lesser extent, they kind of get lost in the midst of it. Whereas people have automatically gotten to the extent where they're either on one extreme side of the field or the other. They're either true skeptics and believe that it's all fucking BS, or they're in the other camp where the psychics are completely real and they swear by their advice at all times. You got to use your own judgment and always go in as a healthy skeptic, and if there's evidence that's brought to your attention that proves otherwise, you can take that and assimilate that evidence in, but don't let it bias your future understandings or future examples of what you may or may not see, for either good or bad. You can't let one case bleed into or influence another, because they are completely separate things, just like every single human being is a completely separate thing. We're all different. We're all amazing in different ways. But enough about all that fun stuff. Let's sneak into some evidence here. Let me just see if I can get the actual window up for me here. There it is. Alright, so I'm going to switch over to the OBS here. I'm going to become real small here. So this is the first page. This is basically a story about a girl who, this was about 2 years ago. Sorry, actually 4 years ago now. It was 2013 is when it was. Sorry, just grabbing the good old ashtray. Bam! There we go. So yeah, this girl basically had an unbelievable, an undeniable telepathic ability with very specific set circumstances. So number one, this girl was autistic. So she, right off the hop, was not her mental development was not on the same course as a regular, normal, healthy human being. She had a lot of learning disabilities and challenges that she had to overcome, including like in some extent speech and even just opening up. As you know, if you know anything about autistics, they sometimes they have the tendency of kind of retreating or being secluded into their own world, and they don't actually interact with the outside world at all. So it makes it a little bit harder in that sense to see that. But with her, in her very specific case, what she could do was she could actually read the memories, and not just like the thoughts, but the actual memories of her mother. As far as the story goes, that it basically she had it was specific to her mother, so she couldn't like read the thoughts of any random person, but she could do so with like unbelievable accuracy. So what she could do is, then she wasn't very good at speaking, but she was basically learning how to type on a keyboard and stuff like that. But she could recite like phrases, words, even to some extent like lengthy poems that were said to her mother at a different and distant location, like real time. So her, like let's say for instance, a controlled scientist would read a random passage to the mother, and then like her daughter would pick up that memory from her mother's memory and then actually type out that passage. The only difference being is that the daughter wasn't really good with punctuation and like spacing and stuff like that, because to her that those concepts were really, really hard for her to grasp. But she was able to do this accurately and reliably, like over and over and over again, to the point where there really was no denying that her and her mother had this kind of psychic bond. Now, whether this would be something that would be reproducible to other humans, like at all, or even for her to be able to expand it to other human beings, you never know. It's all about development, right? The fact that the pathway is there and the gateway is there, the potential is there to extend into that. And when you think about it, all our brains are and our thoughts are basically like wave frequencies and electrical impressions that are stored on, for lack of a better term, a biomechanical hard drive, which is our brain. That's what our memories are. Basically, electrical impulses create the neural pathways, and the neural pathways become the actual imprint of the memory. So she was basically able to read that, like, and it could be even something through the same type of senses like a shark would have, but then again that has a limit to distance. And unfortunately, in the article that I read here, there was no real mention on any limitations on distance or lack thereof. So you can't really say one way or the other which way it would be. But case number one, that's telepathy. Pretty good case. You can definitely look into it yourself. Let's see, name-wise here. Let me see if I can zoom in here for you, so that you can actually feel free to check out the actual sourcing yourself. Again, I always encourage everybody to check out their check up on information, see and realize that where its source is, where it's coming from. There's multiple different sources about this girl. I just picked this article because it had a fairly decent picture of her. But Nadania, and I'm just not even going to try and pronounce her last name because I'm horrible and I'll just butcher it, and she doesn't deserve that. Nobody does. But this Nadania here, she was basically purported, and as far it's still undisputed really, to be fully telekinetic. Telepathic. Sorry. When it comes to a specific circumstances being her mother, but again, that ability you never know. If she was able to overcome some of her learning disabilities and be able to open up into the world and develop her own ability, that could maybe expand into something else. So it's a pretty decent and interesting case number one there for sure. You would be surprised at what you can see out there when it comes to telepathy. You wouldn't. I don't know if I'd personally want telepathy. I don't think I'd want to actually see every little thing that's in everybody else's mind. That's sometimes ignorance is bliss, and in a case like that, that would probably be the same. But if you could turn it off and on, that might be a different story. Could be interesting and or definitely life-saving tool if necessary. You can set it to spidey senses like Spider-Man. You never know, right? A kind of note too for telepathy, on a scientific basis. And this goes out to all the say UFO conspiracies and whatnot too, where they have say aliens who have the telepathic ability, which is in a lot of cases a lot of reports for abductions and whatnot, saying that they spoke and communicated telepathically. That could, it doesn't even necessarily have to be a biological thing too. Like you could have something like an implant, like on a higher technological level than we are, that could basically allow you to send and receive thoughts like wirelessly, just like we do with our devices. It's definitely within the realm of science possibilities, or scientific possibilities, I should say. But yeah, so let's go on to the next case. Next case is a really famous psychic. Probably one of the most famous psychics in the world when it comes to all-encompassing ability. And his name is Edgar Cayce, or Edgar Cayce. Edgar Cayce was basically one of the biggest psychics of all time, dubbed the sleeping psychic because his main way of triggering his ability is he would put himself into a trance in which he would call put his oversoul, which is basically his whole encompassing spirit or being in control of his body. So the way he had described it is that like our consciousness is kind of in layers, and the consciousness that we are in our waking everyday average life is only a fragment of our whole being, and our whole being actually encompasses all the different lives that we've taken in our life. Edgar Cayce being one who in his reading stated that reincarnation is a thing, and that you actually store all that information in your oversoul. Kind of like if you were to use a scientific, like a science or today's day analogy, your regular soul, your consciousness is kind of like your personal computer, and then your oversoul is kind of like a cloud service, and like you can basically upload from different personal computers to the same cloud service, but the cloud service is still basically all of your information, and that's kind of a modern day analogy for it. But so with his ability, he would basically say he would put the cloud service, his oversoul, in control of his body, and he would be able to do unbelievable things. So number one, his one biggest thing was he would do what he would call like live or health readings. All he would need for information before he went into the trance was the name of the person he was to examine, and their location at the time of the examining. That's it. That's all he was ever given. And he performed this, by the way, over 10,000 times with a success rate of over 80%. And a lot of times when people were actually followed up upon, a lot of the non-successes were people who didn't follow his prescriptions, basically. So what he would do is he would then his oversoul would, like remote viewing style and or astral projection style, travel to the actual intended patient. And when he was doing these readings, he was very, very dry, very scientific, almost mechanical, like in his speech. He has been noted to be very, very emotionless and kind of almost like a robot, for lack of a better term. But what he would do is he would basically break down and diagnose, number one, what that person that he was reading, what their disease, disorder, or issue would be, and then he would also at that point diagnose a treatment. One of which he actually diagnosed a very peculiar treatment for tuberculosis, and at the time, tuberculosis was a fatal disease. There was no cure for it. There was no way. You got TB, that was it. You are done. You're dead and gone. Say goodbye to your relatives. But he had basically developed a cure, and no word of a lie. The cure was, but word for word, taking an oak cask, charring the inside so that the inside was charcoal, filling that charcoal with apple brandy, and having the patient inhale the fumes from that multiple times a day, depending on the severity and whatnot, and lo and behold, it actually cured the tuberculosis somehow, some way. I don't know exactly the whole scientific background on how it would have worked, but all I can say is that there were cases where people were cured from this actual cure that he invented in one of his readings. So, think he's a fake or not, regardless, the guy found a cure for tuberculosis when there wasn't one at the time. But he went on to do a number of these readings, and he would always diagnose to a T what the patients would have. And not only would he diagnose that, but there would be times where the patients weren't where they were supposed to be. in for the reading. So like, again, being given the patient's name and the where they would be at the time of the reading, and he, like the oversoul would get, for lack of a better term, annoyed, like which was as close to emotion as it would convey, that they would have to like refine the actual patient, and say that it wasn't that person wasn't there. And and in every case where that did happen, the person actually wasn't where they were supposed to be at the time of the reading. So again, that's like take it as you will. It's a pretty good case of what you can do. And again, you can look up on Edgar Casey. There is a number, like tons and tons of literature about him and his works and all of his case files and studies and everything. Everything's been well documented with him. So again, he is one of the biggest of the biggest when it comes to psychic validation, I guess you could say, for the abilities that could potentially be there for the mind. He also did a unique thing too, where he didn't only just do health readings; he would actually do life readings too, where he would basically visit young people, like children, and he could tell what they were like naturally or like intuitively good at, and basically would like prescribe like things to help them develop those talents and or techniques. So like, for instance, if a kid was very artistically inclined but would work really good with like paints as opposed to say clay, like he would be able to tell people what they might actually be really, really good at, and in turn a lot of times these people would enjoy those things naturally because it's something that kind of resonates with them. But he was able to do those, and he did at least a couple thousand of those type of readings as well. And again, accuracy level was off the charts. I don't know the exact numbers, so I'm not going to try and just pull one out of the hat there, but I know that it was fairly high, and that again, one of his most amazing accomplishments. But he definitely did a lot of amazing things, and he was a sight to behold for sure when it comes to like legendary men in the actual psychic field. But again, it's really hard to like use him as a current example, because like he lived in, like he was dead by 1945. That's when he passed away. But he was born in 1877. He was kind of a man of a completely different generation. So there's not even really any like footage or anything, I don't think, of him beyond photographs, and his works are well documented in paper. But it's really hard to to translate paper to feelings or emotions or kind of things, and there's nothing that I've seen where there's any kind of tools on to do what he did. It was almost like he was kind of a unique person in that sense. But there's biographies on him out there. You can read up on him. He was an interesting character for sure. Definitely wasn't a man who was out there to try and get a quick buck. Like, he really didn't try to amass wealth or do anything like that. He was just basically all about the readings. He would do a number of them a day, every day. He would constantly just do as much as he could, and I think that's kind of the mark of a true humanitarian there, where he's not really about self propulsion, but more about trying to do as much as he can for the human race, which is a fantastic thing for sure. But yeah, so he's definitely a great example of a good psychic of his time. Next one is a real kind of amazing case, and this is Nina Kulagina. I always try and say the name wrong, but Nina Kulagina is a Russian housewife that lived, again, and this is fairly old, but she lived in the 1930s, I do believe. But her abilities were actually shown on were filmed. She actually housed what are they called? Scientists and different scientific different people from different scientific communities would come to actually talk with her and kind of see her do what she does. And what she does is probably one of the most amazing, because it's the most visual. With ESP, even remote viewing and stuff like that, like, it's all metaphysical. Like, there's no in your eyes, in your face proof. You know what I mean? You still have to take it at some sort of belief that there isn't a trick, that there isn't a way that someone could be manipulating or doing something that you don't know, regardless of whether it's through through sleight of hand or through honest honest ignorance. But regardless of the fact, they're very intangible. Whereas with Nina, her ability was tangible. Her ability was telekinesis. and she was able to perform. Like, she was one of the very few, if not only people that I know of that were able to reproduce it at will in scientifically controlled circumstances, and she could do it with any kind of material. So in the clip that we have here, she works with matches, matchboxes, stuff like that. But like, you can watch her, like you can see that it actually strains her attention. You can tell she's putting her will into what she's doing, and I think that's one of the key factors with developing each and anybody's own ability, is that they need to put their own will into it. And it's kind of one thing where you have to you can't half-ass it. You have to give it your all. You have to really focus on what you're doing. Even like when I've tried doing like the aura reading and the energy reading and stuff like that, like it's something where you can tell, like if you're just like doing something flippantly, you're not going to gain good results or the results that you would like. You have to really want to do what you want to do for good reasons, and in the end it will work out better for sure. But I'll show you the clip here of Nina, and
to filter through
it's
the
pretty
Iron
amazing.
Curtain in
So
the
this is
60s.
through an actual documentary there that the clip is from, but makes it easier too, a little bit more dramatic.
33-year-old Nina Kulag.
Oh, this is Nina. So as you can see, she's moving objects here. She's got this metal cylinder, but then there's the matches underneath as well.
Even in
It's a-
close-up, it's hard to see how she's making the box shift across the table. But it certainly is moving.
You can see, like look at her here. She's like, oof. It takes a lot out of her. Like, she's actually using her
Dr.
life energy to
Rishkoff and his
influence the
team
universe,
built an airtight
which is
glass
unbelievable.
box for the
And
experiments.
this is something that
This was to
technically should
prevent
be
any
possible by
possibility of her
any
using
human being
magnets or an electrostatic
that
charge,
puts enough effort
or
and
even
time and
blowing
practice
objects
into
with
it.
her breath.
I'm sure some people have more talent than others, just like any other skill of
Again,
muscle, but
the results were
I think
startling.
it has something to do with it. And you see here, like in the glass box, wooden matches. It's not like you can make a match magnetically move here. Like, there's no real way of trickery. And she's done this like countless
And
times.
she even started to move things while we were still eating.
Wie wir noch sozusagen beim Abendessen waren.
A ping pong ball.
Kyle filmed Kulagina at work.
You
in
see
her
when
own
she
home.
moves her hands? It's like she's manipulating the energy of the actual object. And that's the one thing people don't realize, is that every single thing, every piece of matter has energy. It's all connected. Like energy, mass is infinite energy, and infinite energy is mass. It's two sides to a coin, and I
How
think
did
it's
she do it?
it's two sides
Paranormal strength?
to the
Or just
dimensional
clever
universe
trickery?
that we potentially live in.
Even now, he's not sure.
And and that's the thing with if you kind of think of this universe that we live in as a dual universe, where there is like a flip side, like a mirror side. Stranger Things has a really good kind of like concept of it, but they of course have to turn it into sinister. It's for TV, right? You got to make some sort of evil kind of like background about it. But I don't think there's any negativity towards the negative, the reverse realm or whatnot. It's just there. You know what I mean? It's just here and there. It's primal natural force. You can't impose your concept of good and evil on something that is natural, just like a tidal wave. You know, it's not destructive because it wants to be. It's nature. You know, that's the same thing with the energy realm. And I think everything is reversed there. So if you can actually affect the energy on that plane, on that level, then you can actually start to affect the energies that are on this plane. But it's superimposed upon each other. Like if they're one on top of each other with no gap, no difference. But the problem is that they're so well blended that we don't see them as two separate parts. We only see them as one part and don't know any different. And because of that, we, just like how you don't see your nose unless you concentrate on it, your mind and your whole consciousness is just used to like dismissing and ignoring it. It's just something that's always been there, and it's nothing to think about. It's only when you try and really concentrate on that side that you can actually see what can be there and the energy. And trust me, when you actually get some good concentration going, you'd be surprised that what you can see. You'd swear it was a freaking acid trip or something, because when you actually start to actually look at the energy and you see how it acts and reacts. Even just how the fact it likes to travel on lines, like anywhere where there's a line, that's like energy gathers and focuses, and it's just a matter of actually looking at it and trying to separate it from the current reality that you're so used to viewing. And the problem is that you've been used to viewing it your entire life, so it's really hard to untrain that kind of perception. So it definitely, I'm sure there's many techniques out there to do, but like I said, I can teach you a quick technique to start to see yours, and which can help you out. Anyone can do it. All you need is a bathroom with that. You can control the light with a door. But I'll tell you that after this next little clip here, because this guy, I'll tell you. Like, now I'm gonna probably play this in bits because it's a bit longer of a clip, and I'm sure YouTube would try and ding me for some sort of copyright thing when I'm only doing a separate show using him as an example. This guy, he's a bit of a misnomer. What he does is fantastic and really shows what you can do with the human body when you really practice and train yourself to another level. This guy, if he's not a yogi master, he's something else. Whether or not what he does is a trick or sleight of hand is hard to tell. The main part that you'll look for is the part with the smaller ball, but his control, regardless, even if it was just a sleight of hand, regardless of all of these objects, shows a higher attunement to the spatial awareness of the universe, like the way and the flow of motion of physics, not just in numbers, because anyone and anything can crunch numbers, but to intuitively understand on a level where it doesn't even require thought, that becomes a whole separate kind of plane of consciousness, and a way to explore and expand potential abilities as well, especially with the abilities, because when you get that kind of an intuition, and sometimes when you really start to try and look and go into that kind of way of thinking and thought, you start to see correlations and things that you would not even see before. And you could call them coincidence, or you could call them imposing your own wants and wills onto randomness, which is possible. But at the same time, sometimes things just work out too well, or happen exactly at the same right way, or correlate with even certain things or ways that you're feeling at the time, and how things are interacting with you for that. Whenever, say for instance, you're in a bad mood, you unconsciously radiate that negativity, and on an unconscious level, the people who are within your vicinity pick up on that, and you can say sometimes it's facial expressions or whatnot, but at the end of the day, sometimes people who are completely like you wouldn't even know that they were in a bad mood. You can just feel something's wrong or something's off, and you don't know why. It's just there. Like another classic one example of that is like when you can feel like someone's watching you, or when you're watching someone and they suddenly turn around and look at you. And that happens all the time to everybody, but it's an intuitive instinct. It goes beyond the actual conscious level. It goes to the subconscious level. There's been actually some studies about how a lot of primates even have exhibited a very similar ability when it comes to snakes, learning how to actually fear snakes before they even know what it is, and be able to move and react to a snake before they do. And it goes beyond even instinct. It's something more that's coded into your actual DNA. But those are all different topics for another day, for sure. But yeah, this guy right here, we'll start off his little show because he is fantastic. Turn down his volume a little. This guy is literally unbelievable. So he works with these glass orbs. I'm pretty sure they're solid because they sound solid. They clack together here and there, but you'll see. So it starts off pretty simple in the sense that it's stuff that you could see a normal a Cirque du Soleil performer or somebody who's really kind of done those type of things could get into. And he throws in some yoga. That's interesting. Yeah, so now this is where it gets interesting. Now watch with the small ball here. Oh, wait. You might not do it yet. Oh, yeah, here we go.
Я не
Watch.
знаю.
So that ball is literally levitating
Посмотри, как у него шаров так летает.
in midair. And you'll see as he gets into it a bit more with the multiple balls here that it just goes insane. Like he just takes it to a different level.
Он вообще как будто он не держит.
He's got
эти
4
мячи.
large, like
Они его
semi-large
сами
medium
смотрели.
balls on the one side of his hand. No, sorry. Now he's got 4. Now, like, it's just even more focusing your own aura into the balls to actually keep them on a certain path and or course correct at the same time. Now look at this. He while rotating, and look, he's got it's. If he's pulling a rod out of somewhere, it's pretty amazing because like I don't see where or how that can be connected realistically. Now, yes, this whole video could be a scam in the sense it could be like photoshopped or whatnot,
Кто-то
but
вообще сам с собой кружит.
it's hard to say. It really is hard to say.
Да елки-палки, да это
You can see the
нереально.
control, like being able to independently, like dexterously move
Я одна это
both
вижу.
sets of balls at the same time. That's not an easy feat. That is definitely not an easy feat. And then, of course, the rotating of the actual small ball is just out of this world.
Ветка. Ветка, смотри просто.
No, I didn't get this far because I actually wanted to watch the rest of it with you guys because
Не может
it was
собрать.
so amazing. Like, yeah, I don't even need to see the rest. I want to see the rest with
Может,
everybody
нельзя
else
снимать.
because it's amazing. Look at this. He just stood a stick up straight, and that stick, and if you see it, is not straight. Like it shouldn't be balancing that way. It should definitely just like be falling over. But it's a matter of using that electromagnetic and actually like implanting his energy there and keeping it from one to another. And it creates a feedback loop that keeps it there. Just unbelievable. Like, look at this guy go. Just unbelievable.
На шарах.
And that, my friends, is what you call a pro at whatever you want to call it. He definitely showed, at the very least, he showed some very unique, amazing talent when it came to being able to control and manipulate even just physics. Now, is that psychic or not? Hard to tell. Definitely hard to tell. But it shows that there is potential and possibility even in today's day and age that we can supersede who we are and what we are. We can become more than we are. It's all a matter of if we want to and if we want to put the time into it. But I did say I was going to give you the technique for testing for aura, for being able to see aura, so I'll let you know what it is now. So this is an easy technique. All you have to do is you need a bathroom. The best type of bathroom is kind of like your two-piece, like downstairs, like bathroom, because it's a little bit smaller and there's usually no windows. Most important part of the bathroom, though, is that you can control the light, meaning that there's no window, or if there is a window, there's a way that you can pretty much all but eliminate the light. The reason being is that you want to use your door to the bathroom as your light control. So when you're standing in front of the mirror, and I'm assuming that your bathroom has a mirror, because again, one of the things you're going to need to actually see in order is to be able to see yourself. When you're standing in front of the mirror, you want the bathroom door to be open just enough and closed just enough so that you can see your outline in the mirror. So you want to be able to see your outline, but you don't want to be able to see the details of your face. So you don't want to be able to see your eyes, your nose, your mouth, that type of stuff. But what you do want to be able to see your outline of your silhouette. This is important because of the way that your eyes are going to work when adjusting. What you need to do is you need to stand about 1.5 feet, 2 feet away from the mirror. You're going to stare directly ahead, and then you're going to see your eyes itself. And then what you're going to do is you're just going to let your eyes kind of almost in a sense relax. Now you have one of two options. You can look directly ahead at your own eye, like at your own eyes, or what I like to do, my personal favorite for it is I like to stare at my left shoulder. You can choose right or left depending on whichever is comfortable. So what you do is you want to stare there until you'll see as your eyes adjust, you'll start to see the details of your face a bit. But as you do, you're just keeping your eyes in one direction. The biggest important part is you don't want to move your eyes. Your eyes need to stay still. You don't want to blink. If you do blink, you might have to start over, but that's all right. So what you do is you keep staring at the point there, or in the middle of your eyes, and your face. You're going to see the details of your eyes when your eyes are adjusted a bit. And then as you're looking straight, you'll notice that the details of your face will start to blank out, and almost like your whole vision, including your silhouette, everything will kind of go to black as your vision almost kind of drifts in a sense, because of the low lighting level. Your eyes would find it a little bit harder to focus, and because you're not trying to focus too hard but keeping your eyes still, it gives it a chance to relax a bit. So as it blanks out again, naturally your eyes will start to focus back in. As it starts to focus back in, that's when you're going to be able to see the aura. Now, as far as I've seen, this technique has worked for every single person that I've ever told it to. Usually it's within the first or second try. It's fairly easy to do. But as your eyes start to refocus in and your details start to be apparent, the most important part again about at this point especially is not to blink and not to move your eyes. As it is, you want to start to try and take awareness or take notice of your peripheral visions. So basically the vision on the sides of your eyes, but you do not want to actually change the focus. So you want your focus still to be staying either at the point or your eyes, but you want your what you're actually trying to picture on the peripherals on the outside. And immediately you will start to see, as your eyes are starting to refocus again, that you will see a white shimmering aura around your silhouette and your frame. This literally happens to pretty much everyone. The biggest part about this technique, and the most important part about this technique, is training your eyes to look without looking. That is the biggest part to actually seeing auras and to actually being able to start actually reading colors and whatnot within them as well. Reading colors does take a little bit more time and effort, but the most important foundation that you need to actually see auras is to see without seeing, and that is to keep your eyes looking at one direction, but using your peripheral vision to actually to focus. But the thing is, your focus still needs to be here, but you need to be looking right here, and that's the thing, because once you start to focus over here, it'll destroy the ability, and you'll have to start over by focusing straight. So being able to tune into the actual peripheral is the biggest thing you want to look for. And when you're doing it in front of the mirror, like in the low lighting setting, your success is immediately noticeable. Like there's no ifs, ands, or buts, or is that like light coming off my TV, or is that something from my phone, or this and that. No, you will be able to tell, because it will be a pretty apparent, usually about a half inch to an inch, off of your silhouette. At first it'll be white, especially in low light levels. It usually is white, but if you do practice with time, and you do have someone who you can practice with, you can actually teach yourself to start to see and recognize colors as well, by looking at that partner through a white background. You can also alternatively do it in a mirror in the bathroom, same bathroom, especially if that bathroom has like a neutral background to it. White's the best color, but you can use like off-white or any really neutral color. You want to stay away from colors like red, green, blue, orange, yellow, that type of stuff that are like actual like vibrant colors, because they will skew the actual like colors that you will be able to see. But so you basically, if you practice that, and then you actually look as you start to use that seeing within seeing, where you're looking, and then eventually you'll start to see it pop up itself. First it starts with the white, but then you can actually start to gain colors. Different colors mean different things. Sometimes different colors mean different things to different people. So what red might mean to me might not be to you, because you might not actually see my red, or the red that I see. You might be seeing, say, violet or pink or whatnot as well. I do have a theory that everyone's eyes are different, and when you're seeing these low-level light emissions that that we do emit as part of our kind of regular everyday emissions, they can be skewed by what our actual eyes like perceive, because each person's eyes can perceive light differently. But regardless, you can still learn, and there's usually a basis, and you can kind of gain a feel for the emotions of the person at the time. But as I've seen, for the most part, that usually blues from light to dark are usually more content people. So the lighter blue is less content, but still kind of fairly happy. But then the more deep blue you get, the more kind of like content and settled in, I guess you could say, with life that a person is. With yellow, sorry, not yellow. With purple, purple is usually kind of more self-centered, or not in a negative way, but more kind of self-absorbed, more kind of all about themselves and and who they are. They can be selfish people, but not always. They do have a tendency to not take in regard other people's feelings as much. But yeah, that's usually purple people. Like orange is very extroverted, bright, or open, bubbly, happy-go-lucky, fun type of people. They're usually at least on the surface, that's the type of person that they usually are. Yellow can be very very guarded, but at the same time almost not necessarily two-faced, but like very deceptive, like where they don't show their true selves, and they don't they kind of have like a dual personality, in the sense that they be two types of people. But yeah, there's other colors there too. Red, of course, can be anger, but can also be very passionate person, very very focused and driven towards what they love and what their passion is, and they're very absorbed by that. Golden people, so golden, different from yellow or orange, but golden people are usually spiritual in nature. They usually have a higher self, or a higher center. They know and are kind of content in all things, but also trying to learn and master themselves. But that's just kind of personality auras. There are different levels of auras as well. So there's like an aura level for your physical health, wealth, and well-being, as well as the one for your personality. And sometimes, if you're really good, and I've yet to master this on a everyday level or anything like that, but the old thought bubble that came from cartoons. Well, that's a real thing, because people's thoughts can come off as colored bubbles as to what they're thinking, and it can actually denote what type of thought they're thinking as well, and each color can differentiate between different types of thoughts. But it's pretty interesting in itself, I'm not gonna lie. When I used to try and really practice hard back in the day, where I would be practicing my aura reading on a daily basis, and trying to really learn about all things spiritual and historic, and I was getting into many different things, there was a point where I could with a little bit of warm up, I could actually see people's thought bubbles for the most part, and gauge fairly well what they were, at least the emotional intent behind their thoughts. So not to say like their exact thoughts, but I was able to kind of gauge like the style or denotion, whether it was like an immature thought, or if they were thinking about something sexual, or if they were thinking about something funny, or if they were like thinking about doing something devious or mean or something like that. Like it was just, you'd see the colors, but the colors wouldn't be necessarily as much colors as they would just feelings. It would be like the color was almost like kind of like a byproduct of the actual feeling that you would get from the thought bubble, which is pretty cool. But yeah, that's my little trick for the world there. Trying to help reorders. There's other ways that people teach you here and there and everything, but I've just found that using the bathroom method is by far the most reliable for everybody, because it's not an easy thing to do, to train your eyes to look without looking. But when you get really good at it, you can start to see like the aura and the energy of everything. Like every single object in the world has energy, to some greater or lesser extent. Now the next step after seeing the energy is to be able to manipulate it, and that's the hard part. And I think one of the biggest parts about being able to manipulate like the physical world or the energy attached to the physical world is to be able to be a master of your own energy, and that's where I lack. That's my roadblock that's keeping me behind, is the fact that I've yet to be able to master my own energy. I can kind of like work with my own energy to some extent. Like I can raise my kundalini, I can raise my actual for lack of a better term, key, but I can't direct it, or I can't use it in any specific instance or circumstance, or to affect anything. But the actual, even to just generate is interesting, and it's there's a term for a thing that's very similar to it called ASD, I think it's called, where it's like that kind of like shiver that you get down your spine when someone whispers in a certain little like type of thing, like, or someone like does something that just kind of gives you like this shiver, but it's not like a shiver like bad, but a shiver like kind of like a pleasurous feeling. It's kind of like commanding that, and then like having it spread in or directing it into certain areas of your body. But when you, like, I've been trying to like spread it in like actual send energy to certain appendages, as well as to like say my head or my eyes or whatnot as well. And I've noticed even just by sending trying to send energy to my eyes, that I would get more vivid color impressions of the energy of everything around. And that's the cool thing, is like if you could actually kind of like focus again with your eyes opening, trying to keep your eyes open for as long as possible, you kind of almost get like an overexposure of the background radiant energy that looks kind of almost hallucinogenic in a sense, because it's just a very, very pastel-y kind of light that's all around. And sometimes you see some crazy things. Like I've like been trying these exercises, and I've seen like these amorphous blobs like float by. There'll be times where I'll see like a really kind of almost like a bright flash of light, but very small, but almost like kind of like a light like traveling across a spider web, where you kind of get like a glint, and it like glints across the spider web as you're moving, but not in a straight line. It would be like curved or moving, but it would just like wave through and then kind of like fade in and then fade out, and then you see these things, and then as you start to recognize them, you start to see them on like everywhere in everyday life, here and there. The amorphous blob ones are really harder to see, because that you have to actually really be into the actual vision of it. But the bright filaments, they pop up everywhere. I've seen them all the time, but they're pretty cool. But it's just little things that you can see, and you gotta wonder, like, is that a superimposed layer or another dimension that's underneath or above what the dimension we currently are living in? Nobody really knows. No one can really say. It's not something that's provable with today's technologies. So if we last till tomorrow, or the next set of tomorrows, that we may be able to prove that and or explore them, that would be a fantastic thing. But the way the world's going right now, I don't know. That's the only problem. We gotta hope that we wake up and we stop the madness. Stop the madness. If you haven't heard, Fukushima offloading hundreds of tons of highly radioactive, let's just make it easy, highly radioactive water from the storage tanks leaking into the ocean, the Pacific Ocean, every single day. 100 tons every day leaking into the oceans. Unbelievable. It is it's literally the biggest natural disaster that is not getting publicized or plastered over every news media, which it should. It's not only been leaking this water like every day now, it's been leaking this water every day since 2011, when the freaking disaster happened. Like, people are wondering, why are these hundreds of whales like showing up dead in Australia and on the west coast and everywhere? Maybe it's because of the freaking radiation that's been pumping in for the last 6 years. It's all coming to a head. This is one nuclear power plant. One thing gone wrong. How many nuclear power plants are on this earth right now? I know it's still technically a better solution than coal, but come on. It's the worst way to boil water. Why are we doing this? We are playing not with matches, we are playing with one of the most destructive things to life. And we're doing it so flippantly everywhere. And this is just one of the horrible examples of what could happen. What if there was a life-changing like event, like even something as not so simple as a medium-sized asteroid that hit in an area that was close to a few nuclear reactors? In Ontario, there's 3 within a freaking like 20 or 50 kilometer radius in Ontario. Like, there's enough radioactive material in just those 3 plants that could completely devastate the entire world. And it's not like this material goes away. It stays forever in a human sense. Like some of the longest like half-lives of like the radioactive isotopes are in the hundreds of thousands of years. Like cesium and plutonium and uranium are like just ridiculous half-lives. So that it's not like if that was spread to a toxic and or lethal level all across the globe, that we could just wait it out. No, that if it does, then you have to either clean it up or get rid of it somehow, or everything and everybody dies or mutates wildly to some crazy extent to who knows what. But we need to find a better solution. Nuclear is definitely not the answer. Coal obviously is not the answer either. That's almost just as bad. The only way that it's not as bad is the fact that one plant couldn't fucking destroy the world, whereas in one Fukushima almost can. We don't know what the full reaches of what that's going to do. They have estimated that to clean up for Fukushima is going to cost $300 billion. Who cares? It's only money. But 40 freaking years. 40 years. How long of those 40 years until Fukushima stops freaking putting, leaking out of their storage containment, their radioactive containment storages into the freaking Pacific Ocean? How many years is it going to take until that stops? Because it's been 6 years now that it's been doing it straight, and we don't know how long it's going to take into the future. Nobody's giving any answers, and it's already showing up in the food supply in North America. But who cares if it's just North America? It doesn't matter if it's anywhere in the world. There's no way that this can be good for anybody, let alone the marine life. And there's a lot in our ecosystem that survives on the marine life, including ourselves. So we need to find something different, and we need to find it quick. We need to put aside all this stupid, petty bullshit. We need to stop worrying about these idiotic geopolitical friggin' showmen or puppet men that are just distracting people from the fact that we are just hand over fist destroying this planet. Not even to say that if the planet were a conscious thing, which you never know it could be. We don't know all sorts of forms of life that could potentially be in this universe. At some point, it's going to fucking get pissed, because we are just destroying this place without reckless abandon for no reason. And we're so caught up with all the stupid little bullshits of our society that we don't even look to see what we're doing, to see how we're treating this world. So, I don't know. That's my 2 cents on that. A little off on a tangent, but maybe no. Who knows? Maybe there could be some psychic god out there that could actually wake up humanity and maybe interconnect us. That would be an interesting thought, eh? What would happen if the whole entire world had mass telepathy? What if everybody on the planet Earth were completely connected, kind of like the web in the sense, but on a mental level, where you would instantaneously know everyone else's every waking moment detail, and not only just know it, but actually instinctively be able to process it. You would have the same processing power as all the humans combined as well. So it would be like becoming and knowing every single person's issues and realizing that we're all messed up people, especially in this society right now. The way that society molds people as they are growing up to adults, to passing on the next generation through, we are literally sculpted by our society right now, and it's not a good sculpt. It's not a good mold. We are being bred to just consume and obey and not do it, not question anything, and just become mindless zombies. And that's not what the human race is good for. We are so amazing for so many different things. We have so many loves, passions, artwork, technologies, like creativity, exploration. Everything about us that is fantastic is being destroyed on every single level, including the physical one now. So we need to smarten up. We need to find our path. We need to find our way. So I think that's enough of Drewski ranting today. So usually I like to keep positive, but why not? We got to talk about the negative too, because if we don't, we're never going to grow. You can't turn a blind eye to anything. We have to find out who we are, and we need to do it quick. We are running out of time. There is only so much more that our planet can take before we are going to be ejected by randomness or by ourselves. Whether or not we destroy ourselves, let's not just let it happen. How about we just all come together and do something? Let's find something. Ask everyone around, what can we do? The Venus Project, an amazing thing to check out. It is a possibility of something to do. If you ever want to look into it, check out the Venus Project. Just Google it. Jacques Fresco, the inventor, an amazing plan, an amazing idea. But it takes awareness in people to actually actively want to do it. Now, then we just gotta hope that people will find a way to be good. But yeah, that's the hour mark. So thank you again for tuning in, guys. It's definitely been a pleasure. I love always coming on after a hard day's work and having some fun with you guys, because hey, why not? We never know what's going to happen tomorrow, definitely in this day and age. So if you can connect and maybe spread some knowledge and have some fun with people, then it's something to do, right? So you guys have a great night. My name is your pal Drewski. If you enjoyed the show, hit the like, hit the notification bell there if you want to know when I stream live next. It's usually 1 a.m. I try to do it every night, but the last couple of nights I've been a little tired, so I'll do my best to try and get on here as much as possible every single night. If I can, I'll talk to you again, and until then, have a great night. Peace.